Hey, what's up, my friend? Are you your own biggest enemy? Sometimes when I talk to small business owners, I say that the hardest sale to make is to ourself. And maybe this is you, maybe it's not. I know it has been for me in the past, but self-sabotage is a massive problem. Today, we're going to talk about 7 things you can do to stop self-sabotage permanently in your life so you can make more money and go faster. Hey, welcome to the War Plan Briefing. That's the name of this style of video. My name is Joshua Latimer, and if you're a small family business owner that loves God, family, country, and capitalism, you are totally in the right place. I want to start with a super quick story that's going to help you. You see, I am an extreme introvert. I get paralyzed when I'm in big crowds for too long, even though I make videos on the internet, right? Making videos is a learnable skill, but years ago, I wanted to become a public speaker. And you know, the number one fear of adults in the United States is the fear of public speaking. You want to know what the number 2 fear is? It's actually death, right? Which is hilarious. That means people would rather be like in the casket than giving the eulogy at a funeral, which is crazy. Well, I wanted to get over that fear. So what I did was I started wearing a special watch. Now, this is going to sound insane and crazy, and I'm not a woo-woo person at all, but this worked for me. Now, I would go public speak. I wanted to puke, but I'd wear this special watch. And the reason I wore it was because it was a reminder of me, of this alter ego, this other version of myself I wanted to step into. And really, the first point I want to make is that one of the ways to overcome self-sabotage is to reinvent yourself. It's to redefine who you are. You got to understand you as a human being, handmade on purpose, for a purpose, by God. You are a dynamic creature. And even if you've been living Groundhog's Day over and over for the last 10 years, even if you feel like you're in a rut, you are capable of things you can't even comprehend, but we have to imagine who that could be. Think of yourself sitting in a boardroom of a Fortune 500 company leading a meeting. I don't care if you're broke right now. I don't care if you have a tiny business. Just imagine, as a thought exercise, you are in charge of the meeting. There's a board room, a conference table. There's all these men and women in suits, and you walk in, everybody stands up, greets you. You're the man or you're the woman in charge, and you lead this meeting. Now, just think in your brain, how would you show up? What energy would you have? What would you look like? What would you be wearing? What would your tonality and your emphasis and your pacing be like as you led this meeting for this really huge international corporation? You see, you are capable of doing that. Now, yeah, you got to like level up, and we have to learn more skill sets and change our mindsets. But daydreaming about different versions of yourself in general is a huge shortcut. I was talking to my friend Bart Miller about this. People call him the $1 billion cowboy, and he teaches people how to become more magnetic and how to step into their alter ego. And there's so many things you can do, whether it's a watch that you wear. There's this great movie from the 1980s called Over the Top with Sylvester Stallone, and he's this humble truck driver, but he participates in arm wrestling tournaments for money, and he's trying to save up all this money to get his son back, and it's this very cool thing. And he's this very docile person until he turns his hat backwards like this. And when he does that, it's like game on. It's called Over the Top. You should check it out. And when he flips the hat back, it's like a switch is flipped. And so in your business, if you're stuck or you're self-sabotaging, even whether it's food or it's money or it's marketing or it's leadership or whatever you're paralyzed by, start thinking of who you could step into and even name that character something. My alter ego name, I actually haven't said this really to anybody, even in real life, but it's actually Laddie J. Wallace. Maybe in another video I'll explain why, but each of those names means something because all of us are capable of more and we need to level up, but first we got to see it in our head. So alter ego is your first tip. The second thing you can do to stop self-sabotaging is to pattern interrupt yourself. There's tons of ways to pattern interrupt. There's this guy on TikTok that lives about 30 minutes north of where our studio is, named Scott Frieda. He's this crazy guy. I followed him for over a year. He's got over 1 million followers now, and his wife died from cirrhosis because of alcoholism. And he was a bad alcoholic too. And he documents all these like stories of this happening to him. And he's like a sobriety coach, and it's fascinating. You should look him up on TikTok. He's interesting to watch, but he has this system that he teaches called the solo cup system. And so if you have someone who's a really bad drunk, he has them get 4 solo cups out, right? And in these cups, he has them put different things. So the first cup, they can pour their beer or whatever they're drinking. In the second cup, they have to put water. In the third cup, they have to put fruits. In the fourth cup, they have to put vegetables. And so what he's doing is he tells them to set the cups out like this. And when he's coaching people on this is the craziest part. He doesn't tell them to just stop drinking. He says, drink as much as you want, but once you're drunk, because you're an alcoholic, I want you to drink this beer, then follow it with the water and the veggies and the thing to get a micro win, which is a pattern. It's a weird thing. And all of us have routines baked into our life. Like we sit in the same spot when we're doing this certain thing, right? Where our alarm goes off and we do a certain thing. We open our eyes, we check our phone, which is a bad habit, but a lot of people do that. If you pattern interrupt yourself, it's easy to transform how the whole day goes. Eat your breakfast in a different spot of your house than you normally do. Wear different clothes than you normally do. Do something totally different immediately when you wake up. And if you couple this pattern interrupt idea with the alter ego thing, it's crazy how in a 24-hour window, you could get twice as much done from doing really weird, silly, seemingly counterintuitive things like this. This stuff really works. The third thing you could do is switch your standard. A lot of businesses that I coach and mentor, I'll notice that they get stuck. There's lots of reasons people get stuck, but a big one is because they're comparing themselves with everybody below them. I don't mean below them in terms of their value as human beings, but in terms of business success or business acumen. And what can happen is your business gets a little bit of success relative to the people you're around in real life, right? And then you get stuck because you're comparing yourself to them and you're like, well, I'm already like crushing it compared to them, and you get plateaued and you get stuck. We need to switch your standard on who you're juxtapositioning yourself against, who you're comparing yourself to. Now, I don't want you to get hung up in like beating yourself up, comparing yourself to someone bigger, but you do have to change your paradigm. If you're always looking down, it's hard to get ahead. You want to be looking up. You want to be looking forward. If you're always looking in the past, you want to be looking in the future. You know, good entrepreneurs live in the future because we can see it and taste it, and we daydream about the possibilities and what could be, even though it doesn't exist right now. But you have to change your standard, okay? The fourth tip is to change and fix what you focus on. I used to work for a mortgage company called Quicken Loans years ago, like over 20 years ago. And they had this amazing company culture, and they had these little isms and sayings and quotes all over the building. They had popcorn machines, and they did all this fun stuff with slushies, and they would hire like the Detroit Tigers concession stand workers to like walk through our office and hand out peanuts to everybody. It was this really cool work environment. But one of the sayings that stuck with me for the last 20 years is what you focus on, you find. What you focus on, you find. You can see this in relationships. Maybe there's a woman who's continuously in bad relationships. She's always choosing the guy that beats her or abuses her emotionally, physically, whatever. And it's like Groundhog's Day of the same thing happening. And part of the reason that happens is because they're telling themselves in their head, like, I don't want someone who abuses me. Well, what your subconscious mind hears when you think thoughts like that is abuse me, abuse me. Your subconscious mind doesn't know good or bad. It doesn't know right or wrong. Your subconscious mind doesn't know you don't want or you do want. It only gives you what you focus on. And there's so much science on this. We can get into that in a different video because I'm obsessed with this stuff. But I've seen it in my own life too. So if you're saying, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to struggle anymore, you're basically setting your frame and you're focusing on the wrong thing, which is going to make it way harder to not do that. We need to focus on what we want, not what we don't want. We need to change our focus. We need to fix our focus. So let's do a halfway through recap here. You reinvent yourself and step into your alter ego. Number 2, pattern interrupt yourself with what you wear, with what you eat, with where you sit, even the way you drive to your office, the music you listen to. Change it so you give yourself a chance to break out of the self-sabotage, and then switch your standards. Stop comparing yourself to the people you're already ahead of and start leveling up and looking forward to the people ahead of you. And then fix your focus, and don't focus on what you don't want. Focus on what you do want. Don't shame yourself every time you make a mistake or you're supposed to do that marketing and you didn't do it. Just focus on how excited you are when the marketing you're about to do is going to work, and it'll become easier to do that marketing. Okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 5 is to start setting derivative goals. Instead of saying, I want money and obsessing over money, ask yourself, what are the things that if I did them, makes money automatically happen? How do I make money behave like sawdust? And what I mean by that is if I took a chainsaw and sawed down a tree, sawdust is created automatically, right? I don't have to try to get sawdust. Because I'm doing this one activity, the byproduct of it is sawdust, right? Money is like sawdust. For example, if you are more consistent, if you're more clear in your planning and your goals, if you have the right community around you, right? If you have these other things called success derivatives, you automatically will make more money, right? If you were more consistent, more clear, and had a better community, just those things alone, right? Money comes easier to you. So sometimes instead of focusing on the thing you want, you focus on some things that automatically get you the thing that you want. I read in the book Atomic Habits that instead of making your goal to go to the gym, make your goal to pack your gym bag the night before, and make your second goal to sit in your car with your gym bag at 7 a.m. Right? And like, if you're in your car with your shoes on and you got your sleepy eyes and your gym bag's there and you're already in the car, you're probably going to the gym, right? That's an example of derivative goal setting. Okay, the next one is to engineer your environment. This is a big one. It's a big one. So I said sit in different places in your house, but we also want to optimize your workspace so that you can win. If you're surrounded by chaos and clutter, if you're constantly distracted, I got to be honest, my cell phone is in my drawer here in the desk, and I don't know what I would do without the do not disturb feature on this. And the do not disturb feature makes a lot of people mad that want to get a hold of me, but I can't do it. Like, I need to clear out the clutter. I need to shape my environment. And that means physically, but also means, from distractions and things. So what can you do if you had 60 minutes to just power clean your office, move your desk around, open up the shades, whatever, that could have a big deal or make a big difference in your brain. There's two other points with this. Number one, is there's this concept called the cathedral effect. Cathedral effect says that it's easier to be creative if you're in a building or a space with really tall ceilings. If you're outside, that's best. But if you're in a space with big ceilings, it's easier to be creative. If you struggle with creativity, go for a walk. Get outside more. Get out of your cluttered, nasty cubicle in your tiny office with your 2-year-old screaming in the other room. We need to change our environment. I heard a story when I was in Russell Brunson's inner circle from a guy who had a couple $1 million business and he was stuck. He paid $100,000 to a coach to help him grow his business. And the coach told him to get a new apartment, get a new wardrobe, change his diet, and get a new haircut, which sounds really weird, right? And I won't get into the nuance of this story. The super short version is his business went to 20 million in less than 2 years because of this. But it's counterintuitive, right? But he changed his environment. He stepped into an alter ego. He cut his hair. He stepped into a new identity, and the chains fell off and his business started to work. Isn't that crazy? Are you hearing this? Okay, and last but not least, you need to probably consider performing some social surgery. Social surgery, right? What does that mean? It means you got to do some snippy on relationships. These can be business relationships, personal friendships. They can be family members. If you're around negative people that hold you down, or if you're around people that constantly validate, oh, you're fine. Why do you work so hard? Just slow down. If you're around these people, it's easier to self-sabotage because no one's calling you out on anything, right? Jim Rohn famously said that we're all the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. That includes you. It includes me. Who are those 5 people for you? And if you don't spend a lot of time with people in person, you still have your 5 people. It's the podcasts you listen to, the YouTube videos that you watch. It's the content that you consume. It bleeds onto you and into you, and it shapes you. If you want to stop self-sabotaging, take these tips into account. Reinvent yourself. Step into your alter ego. Pattern interrupt yourself, right? Do things in a weird way to create a new frame. Switch your standard, meaning compare yourself to the future and to people ahead of you instead of the people behind you that you've already, surpassed. Fix your focus. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. Set derivative goals. What are the things that, if you were more consistent, right, and you had more confidence and you were more clear and you had the right community, if you had these, success automatically happens. Engineer your environment. Remember the cathedral effect. And perform some social surgery. These are hard choices, but if you're serious about going faster, this is really good advice. I hope it's helpful for you. Hey, if you like this video, click the buttons and subscribe and comment something. I read all the comments. Let me know where you're from, what videos you want me to make in the future. I wish you the very best. Take care. God bless.